Hello and welcome to Stories and Lessons. My name is Amy Ebert and I'm your host for today's podcast. Welcome back to the series All Things Branding. Today we're diving into a topic that's not just fascinating but also incredibly powerful when it comes to branding. How storytelling affects the brain. If you've ever wondered why some brands stick with you long after you've seen their ad or heard their message, this episode's for you. We'll explore the science behind storytelling, how it impacts our brains, and how you can use this to elevate your brand. Plus, I'll share examples of brands that have mastered the art of storytelling and the stories they tell to captivate their audiences. So let's get started. The science behind storytelling and the brain. First off, let's talk about what happens in the brain when we hear a story. When we hear facts or data, two parts of our brain light up. The language processing parts. Language. We won't go too deep into the science, but essentially, they are the speaking and understanding of language. These areas help us understand the information, but they don't create much emotional engagement. Now, when we hear a story, something entirely different happens. Multiple areas of the brain light up, not just the language processing parts. For example, sensory cortex. If the story describes a smell, your sensory cortex kicks in, making you almost smell it. Pretty cool, right? Motor cortex. If the story involves action, like running, the motor cortex activates, making you feel the movement. Emotionally charged events. The brain releases dopamine, which makes the story more memorable. Dopamine plays a key role in numerous functions. It's referred to as the feel-good reinforcer. This widespread brain activation is why stories stick with us. They engage us on multiple levels, intellectually, emotionally, and physically, making the experience far more immersive than simply hearing a list of facts. Think about people you know who attempt to tell you a story and they go into a laundry list of what they did that day. And not the fast version, never, right? Or maybe all the steps they did to make their meal last night. There's no punchline. You probably made dinner too, most likely, and you didn't need a cheering squad to do so. Not good, right? So anyway, let's tie this into how this affects branding and your brand. So why does this matter when it comes to branding? Because a brand isn't just a logo or a tagline, it's a story. And the better you are at telling that story, the more effective your brand will be. Here's why. Connection. Stories build emotional connections. When a brand tells a story that resonates with its audience, it creates a bond. This bond can turn casual customers into loyal advocates. Memorability. As we just discussed, stories are more memorable than facts. I personally like facts and data, but it just doesn't stick the same as a good story will stick with your audience long after they've encountered your brand. Differentiation. In a crowded market, your story sets you apart. While competitors may offer similar products or services, your unique story on video can make you stand out. Okay, here's an example of a brand that has mastered storytelling. Cracker Barrel. The story of Southern hospitality and tradition. Cracker Barrel is a brand that has masterfully woven storytelling into its identity, creating a strong emotional connection with its customers. At its core, Cracker Barrel tells the story of Southern hospitality, comfort, and tradition, offering a slice of America that resonates deeply with traditional values. The setting, a nostalgic experience. When you walk into a Cracker Barrel, you're not just entering a restaurant, you're stepping into a carefully crafted narrative. The decor, featuring vintage advertisements, rustic wooden furniture, and a crackling fireplace, evokes a sense of nostalgia for a simpler time. This is intentional. Cracker Barrel's storytelling begins the moment you arrive, transporting you to a bygone era of country stores and front porch rockers. Who doesn't love that? This setting taps into a longing for tradition and a connection to the past. The menu is comfort food as a story. Cracker Barrel's menu is a key component of their storytelling. Their dishes are made up of classic Southern comfort foods, fried chicken, biscuits, gravy, and cornbread. Each evokes memories of home-cooked meals and family gatherings. Speaking of family gatherings, The food tells a story of Southern heritage and the importance of family, evoking the warmth and comfort of sharing a meal with loved ones. This is more than just a dining experience. It's a narrative that reinforces the family values, tradition, and community. And side note, tradition, family, community, these are basic needs, and there's stats and data on that. All right, the brand's voice. Consistent messaging. Cracker Barrel's messaging is consistently aligned with its story, whether through their marketing campaigns, social media, or in-store experience. Cracker Barrel communicates a brand voice that is warm, welcoming, and rooted in Southern hospitality. Their slogan, Old Country Store, further reinforces the brand's narrative of offering more than just food. It's about delivering a piece of American heritage. This consistent storytelling approach helps build trust and loyalty among their customer base, who appreciate the brand's commitment to preserving traditional values, community, and connection. Cracker Barrel also tells a story of community. The brand frequently highlights its involvement in local communities, supporting charitable causes, and fostering a sense of togetherness. This is particularly appealing to traditional customers who value community engagement and social responsibility. By emphasizing these connections, Cracker Barrel positions itself as more than just a business. It's a part of the community fabric, a place where people come together to share stories, meals, and memories. Why does it work? Cracker Barrel's storytelling works because it taps into deep-seated emotions and values. The brand represents a connection to heritage, a celebration of tradition, and a commitment to the values of family, community, and hospitality. Bit of a rainstorm. Not sure if this is if we're going to be hearing that, but in case there's that sound here, that is what is happening. By crafting a narrative that is both consistent and resonant, Cracker Barrel has built a brand that's not just about food, it's about preserving and celebrating a way of life that many of its customers hold dear. In this way, Cracker Barrel's storytelling does more than just sell a product, it sells an experience, a memory, and a connection to something greater than just a meal. That's important. That thing that's beyond. This is the essence of brand storytelling, creating an emotional bond that goes beyond the transaction, making customers feel like they are part of a story that reflects their own values and beliefs. Now, how can you apply these principles to your own brand? Well, I just so happen to have a few steps to get you started. Identify your core narrative. What is the central story of your brand? Is it about family values, community, and warmth? Punk rock independent spirit? Identify the narrative that best represents your brand's mission and values based on what's at your core. Make it relatable. Your story should resonate with your target audience, of course. Understand their needs, desires, and pain points, and craft a story that speaks to them on an emotional level. Of course, be consistent. Keep your story consistent across all platforms, whether it's on your website, social media, or in your marketing materials. Consistency builds trust and reinforces your brand's identity. Of course, engage your audience. Don't just tell your story, invite your audience to be part of it. Create opportunities for them to engage with your brand story, whether it's through email, social media interactions, or personalized experiences at events like we do. Speaking of, if you would like to get on the list for some of our events and workshops, go to 10xoncamera.com. Fill out a quick questionnaire so we can find out a little bit more about you, and come hang out with us. Storytelling is more than just a marketing tool. It's the key to creating a brand that resonates deeply with your audience, and when you get really good at it, makes you a fun guest at parties. By understanding how storytelling affects the brain and applying these principles to your brand, you can create a powerful narrative that differentiates you and builds lasting connections with your audience. When you treat your work personally, you communicate to your audience that there is a person behind the product or service who cares about adding value to their life. Ready to elevate your brand and uncover its true essence? Join the waitlist for our next 10x on Camera workshop by heading over to 10xoncamera.com. Having said that, thank you for listening to today's podcast. If you got value from what we've provided, why not spread the love by sharing this episode with someone? Subscribe to or follow the show so you never miss an episode, and give us a positive 5-star review or a thumbs up, depending on which platform you're currently on, and share with others. For more stories and lessons, check out some of my other episodes in the series. Thank you for showing up, and be well.